What does it really take to lead out loud in a world that still celebrates alcohol at every turn? Today's guest stepped into the spotlight and Central Park to build a bold, visible life after booze. Her story is raw, radiant, and proof that sober leadership can be wildly magnetic.
Welcome to the Sober Life Rocks podcast. You may have made the decision not to drink alcohol, or at the very least, not at work-related events. Whether you've never been a drinker, are in recovery, or made a health-related decision, we see you, and you are not alone. In today's world, networking, socializing, and celebrations often happen over drinks, and the struggle can be real. Through this podcast, we're changing that narrative. We're here to create a community where individuals like you, who choose not to drink or drink less, can find camaraderie, support, and practical advice.
Welcome back to Sober Life Rocks, where we amplify sober voices from around the world. I'm Margie Schaller, your host, and today we're in for a treat. But before we dive in, if you are living your sober life out loud, we want to invite you to be part of Amplify Sober Voices, our Thought Leader Conference happening January 15th, 2026. It's where speakers and writers, podcasters, and changemakers come together to reimagine what a truly inclusive, alcohol-optional world can look like. Head to amplifysobervoices.com to learn more and grab your ticket. We'd love to see you there. So my guest today is Rachel Hechtman, certified alcohol-free life coach and founder of Sober in Central Park. After years of struggling with anxiety, depression, and ADHD, Rachel ditched alcohol in 2021 and never looked back. What started as a personal transformation quickly grew into a powerful and visible movement. Today, through coaching, online content, and in-person events, she helps others find real joy in sobriety and shows that alcohol-free living can still be fun, freeing, and deeply fulfilling. So, Rachel, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I know a little bit about you. We've met before, but I just would love for you to share with our listeners kind of a brief version of your story and how you came to the place where you made the decision that alcohol was no longer going to be part of it.
Sure. So I'll keep this short because it could go on forever. But pretty much I lived in a state of anxiety and depression and, just kind of chasing the party for as long as I could remember, since the first time I tried alcohol when I was 14 years old. My ADHD was really running my life, but I wasn't diagnosed with it until I was about 16 and I was at boarding school. And I was sent to boarding school because I started drinking when I was 14 and I started numbing and just kind of trying to escape my reality and the kind of some of the traumas that I had experienced as a child. And I was at boarding school repeating my 10th grade. And one day a teacher asked if I had taken my meds that day. And I was like, I'm not on meds. They were like, oh, well, we need to get you assessed for ADHD. And so I got assessed, I got put on medication. And for a while, things seemed to be really good. Like I was excelling in school. I got into my first choice college, which was Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. For a while, I thought, oh, I'm fixed. But that's not how it works. And no one ever explained to me that there's a huge correlation between ADHD and substance abuse, especially if you start drinking or using before you're diagnosed with ADHD. So as soon as I got to college, I just went crazy and all I wanted to do was drink and party. School came last and it was a really hard time for me in terms of my mental health. I actually had to leave school twice because of various mental health reasons, one being really scary and bad. I did graduate after 7 years, but it was a struggle and it was honestly a traumatic experience in itself. I didn't think my alcohol was as bad as it was while I was there. It was really other substances and just like the wanting to chase the party, which was just another way of escaping. And it wasn't until I was in my late 20s when I had stopped kind of doing the party drugs and I was just drinking the second I got out of work, drinking until I fell asleep on my couch or fell asleep somewhere else, which was my thing. Waking up super hungover, getting to work late every day, not wanting to do anything besides drink in the same bars with the same people. I made a lot of really impulsive, bad decisions, like secretly marrying somebody from another country after knowing them for only a few months and not telling anybody until after I did it, because we went to the courthouse and just kind of did it behind my parents' back.
Excellent.
Yeah, yeah. So I used to do stuff like that. And then I would get depressed because I knew that I had acted impulsively. And that would cause me to just drink more. And it was this like cycle of drinking and shame and hangovers and regrets and losing my keys and my wallet and my phone and just always being in a state of chaos. And I
Mhm.
mean, there were periods of time where I just, was so depressed I couldn't get off the couch. And it was just a really tough time. And I never thought I'd be sober. I never thought that I thought, my life would be over if I got sober. I thought I'd have no more fun, I'd have no more friends. I just couldn't even imagine a life without alcohol. And, when COVID happened, I had been praying, honestly, been praying for a pause in reality because my life was spiraling out of control. I was the heaviest I'd ever been in my life. My sister was getting married. I didn't want to be in my relationship anymore. I hated my job, all these things. And when COVID happened, I got this pause that I had literally been praying for. And I was kind of like, oh my God, did I manifest COVID? But I did not. And COVID allowed me to realize that all of these external things I was blaming for my problems, that my job, my relationship, they weren't the problem. It was my drinking, because I was still just as miserable as I was before without any of those stressors. And all I was doing was drinking and eating and watching TV, and I was still unhappy. So I kind of had a realization during COVID in June 2020 that I had to stop drinking. It was actually a story where I was drinking alone in the lake with my dog, like I like to do, like just the two of us. And a man went running by my mom's house that I was staying at. And this like voice came into my head. And the voice was like, oh, I said, what a loser running on such a nice day. And the voice was like, he's not the loser. You're the loser. And I was like, I'm the loser. And the voice was like, yeah, this man's bettering himself. And you're sitting in the lake like a blob drinking alone. I was like, oh my gosh, I am. How do I become more like this man who wakes up and sees a nice day and wants to better himself? And the voice was like, he's not drinking whiskey until he passes out on the couch every night. And I
Mm.
was like, yeah, okay. So I tried to be more mindful with my drinking for the next 6 months, but I'm ADHD. I'm all or nothing. That really doesn't work for someone like me. And so flash forward to January 2021, back in New York City, and my mom gets me the book Quit Like a Woman by Holly Whitaker. And she tries to make it cool by telling me that Chrissy Teigen was holding it on Instagram, so it must be cool. And she's like, please, let's do dry January. It's like, I don't want to do dry January, no. And so I drink on the first, I drink on the second, and on the third, I woke up with a horrible hangover. And I was like, you know what? Let's just try it. I'm bored of drinking. Let's see what happens. And so I begrudgingly tried dry January, not thinking I was going to make it more than a week. And to my surprise, I made it the whole month. And not only that, I mean, the feeling and the effects that I got from just the month in terms of my anxiety, being able to stay consistent in walking every morning and journaling and just feeling really proud of myself. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And a friend of mine, we went out to dinner like right after January was over, and he was like, "Are you okay? You ready to drink now?" I was like, "No, I don't want to drink now. I feel great. I want to see how long I could go." And that we're no longer friends anymore. That person, they wanted their drinking buddy back. But I decided to just see how long I could go. And within the next 6 months, I made my ex move out. I got a new job that I really liked. And my life started rapidly transforming before my eyes. And it felt magical almost. And I just couldn't believe that I had waited so long to make this change in my life. And I just decided I need to scream this from the rooftops. I need to tell everybody how awesome it is to not drink. Like, did you hear the news? Like, is this a secret? It's a cheat code to life. So I made sober in Central Park when I was almost 9 months into my journey. It really was just a way for me to hold myself accountable publicly because I was scared I was going to drink again. And I honestly like had no friends left because I had to remove a lot of people from my life that, were my heavy drinking friends. And I didn't really think that the Instagram account would be anything. I thought maybe I'd post some pictures of Central Park and maybe reach a few people that, I could help. But if you had told me that 4 years later, I'd be having my own company, helping dozens of women get sober, hosting events throughout New York City, opening a non-alcoholic bar with a team. I mean, I would have never believed you in a million years. So it's the gift of sobriety. It
It's
just keeps
amazing.
giving.
So I love that sentiment. Like, oh, is this a secret? Like, I want to tell everybody. But was there any point at which that felt like scary or vulnerable to you?
Which part? Getting sober or sharing it with
No,
everyone?
sharing it with everyone.
Of course. I mean, before I started the Instagram account, well, backing up a little bit, I didn't tell anybody besides close friends that I was even on this journey. And the first time I posted about it on my old Instagram account, I think I was 60 days and I put up a little story and I was like, 60 days, no booze. When I was 100 days, I made a post on Instagram and on Facebook. And before I hit post, I wanted to throw up. I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I sharing this with everybody I know? Like, I don't know, but something in me was like, share that you're 100 days in. So I shared it, and the response I got was just incredible. I mean, I had people messaging me saying they related, they were on a similar journey. I had other people saying, like, thank God you're sober. I thought you were going to die when we studied abroad in Barcelona. I
Mm.
mean, there was like a wide range of responses, but it felt really good to get it out there. And then as I got further on in my journey, I wanted to keep talking about it and I wanted to reshare memes that I saw, or I just didn't feel comfortable sharing it on my old Instagram account where I used to glamorize drinking and all, it was my old life. It kind of felt like
Mhm.
that version of me had like died and I was kind of being reborn into this new person. So I was like, I'm just going to start a new account where I can document my journey and I can meet like minded people without fear of judgment from people in my past.
Mm.
So that's, when I made Sober in Central Park, though, I was really scared and I didn't know. I was like, why am I doing this? Is this crazy? Are people going to judge me? But, starting it. And then the first post was a picture of my dog in Central Park. The second post was another picture in Central Park. And I was like, I don't even know if I'll show my face. Maybe I'll just share Central Park. And then the third post was a side by side transformation of me because I'm so all or nothing. I was
Mm.
like, you know what? We're going all in. And, yeah, I mean, every time I shared something, scary to me, like how I used to sweat profusely after drinking and that was embarrassing to me, or, just stuff that was sensitive.
Real.
Yeah. Every time I
Yeah.
posted it, I'd be really nervous. And then I'd be so happy I did. And it would resonate with so many people. And I'd get amazing messages. And it just felt like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing.
Mm.
Um, so it's scary and it can be a big step out of the comfort zone. But I think once we step out of the comfort zone, that's where the real change and growth and magic comes from. So now I have no qualms about sharing my deepest, darkest secrets, whatever it is with the internet, because it's real and that's, a lot of people can relate.
For sure. But that being said, like, I feel like when you live that publicly, especially about something like your sober journey, it can kind of put a little bit of pressure on you to have to show up a certain way. Like, how do you navigate that?
Um, I show up the way I am for that day. Like I talk a lot to the camera on my Instagram, on my stories, like every single day almost. I get on my stories, I say hello to everybody. And if I'm having a bad day, I tell everyone I'm having a bad day. I've cried on my Instagram stories more times than I can remember. I've, shared the bad with the good. I think it's really important to make it clear this is not all sunshine, rainbows, and butterflies. I mean, some of it's really hard. I'm a very emotional person, and there's days that I just want to cry and retreat. But I think sharing that um, is good for me. It makes me feel better, and I know that it reaches someone who's also feeling
Mhm.
the same way and makes them feel less alone.
Mhm.
So I don't really feel pressure to show up in a certain way every day. I do sometimes feel pressure to just show up in general when I don't really feel like showing up at all. But I think
Mhm.
that is why I made the account, because I want to be held accountable and I still want to show up even on the days that I don't feel the best.
Mhm. I love that so much. I mean, for me, I got sober in AA, and that was a big part of my story for like my first 10 years. And there was my place that I could go and just cry or just be pissed or just be grateful or whatever the things were. And so I love the idea of we get to rediscover ourselves and our emotions and our reactions and our relationships and all of the things when we get sober and kind of everything shifts in us. And I love
Yeah.
that you're doing that out loud in a way that others can realize that they're not alone.
Yeah, I think a lot of us tend to feel alone on this journey, and especially if you're not in a program like AA. Sometimes I could, at least for me, I when I got sober, there weren't in-person meetings happening. So it was still kind of lockdown, not like, it was
Mhm.
2021, but nothing was happening really in person. So I just never found myself in the rooms. And it was lonely. It really was. And I really don't recommend that to anybody. I think for me, because of COVID, because there was no in-person events, there were no dinners, there was nothing like that happening. There were no weddings that I was missing out on. Like, it created this like bubble where I was able to
Mhm.
get sober without the temptation of going out, without all of these other things that now where, when you get sober now and I coach people and I work with them, I mean, we have to talk about, what do you say to your friends when you go out to the happy hour? What do you say on the girls' trip? What do you say at the wedding? I mean, all of these normal activities that we have in our day to day that just didn't exist when I was getting
Mhm.
sober. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing it on your own. It's already kind of a lonely journey and you need all the support you can get.
So you just sort of alluded to the next question I had, which is, okay, so you start this Instagram account, you start growing, and then what happens next for you?
So people started coming to me and asking me to help them get sober. And I mean, I could tell them what worked for me, but I wanted to feel, qualified to actually help somebody on this very personal, very important life altering journey. So I did a year-long certification program where became a certified coach in 5 different modalities. And I started working with people one-on-one. And it was just the most incredible feeling to be able to watch somebody get sober and help them and be their person on the journey. And at the time, I was working in nonprofit development, raising big gifts from individual donors and doing events. And while it felt great to take money from wealthy New Yorkers and give it to people who needed it. I was kind of like Robin Hood. That's what I would tell myself. I There was no greater direct impact than getting a DM from someone and being like, your account, I started following you a year ago and now I'm 3 months sober, or, seeing my clients get sober. And that was
Mhm.
just nothing could compare to that. Um, I also went to a non-alcoholic event, Sands Bar in the summer of 2022, and it was the first time I ever went to an event where there was no alcohol. And it was actually centered around no alcohol. And I met some amazing friends there that are still my friends today. And it just hit me. I live in New York City. I work in the event space. And why is the first event that I'm going to a pop up bar from Texas? Like,
Mhm.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is a hole in the market, and I need to start doing some events to bring people together, so people can make friends and find community in person. So I really quickly started trying to do that. And while I was doing that, I got a really amazing opportunity to leave my job, which I wasn't ready for. I don't recommend leaving your job without a real plan, which I did because I'm impulsive. Yeah, I started doing events, and it was really cool to meet people in real life and see friendships being made and create spaces for people to come and congregate. But there's very limited space in the city to actually do something like that. A lot of places, are event spaces in bars, right? Or in restaurants with alcohol. So it's a little bit challenging to put these events on all by myself and also be the person that people are coming to see. right? It was a lot. So recently I've actually pivoted into kind of being more of the non-alcoholic vendor at events that are already happening around the city. So I can be an inclusive part of other events and not make it just sober events. Um, I do have two big sober events coming up, but for the most part, you can find me popping up around New York City with Curious Elixirs usually, and tons of other non-alcoholic beverages.
So I want to dig in a little bit to two things that you just talked about. One was setting up your own events because oof, man, we thought when we started Sober Life Rocks, we thought that all we would need to do is bring to the attention of a hotel property that they didn't have any non-alcoholic options, and they would be like, "Wow, hadn't thought of that," and then they would just open up their doors and let them in. Au contraire, mon frere, they are seriously locked down and locked into these distribution contracts where they will not allow anything else in. And so even the meeting planners that we talk to, they're like, we would love to have something like that, but we don't know how to do it. So how did you go about even throwing these alcohol-free events?
Well, it's a little bit different in New York City because New York City has very different laws in terms of distribution and in terms of alcohol and non-alcoholic things. And like honestly, I live in Manhattan, I walk out my front door and there are like 20 restaurants in a 1 block radius. So I started helping restaurants get non-alcoholic beverages on their menus. And then that was a really good way to then maybe throw an event in celebration of the fact that they were serving non-alcoholic beverages. There are non-alcoholic bars. There's one non-alcoholic bar that I'm friends with the owner. It's called the Hecate. It's in the East Village. And so I've done some events there with her. I did some in the parks. But it was challenging to find spaces and then also get everyone to come, which is a big reason I'm on this team and we're opening Soft Bar in August. So,
Hmm. And then these events you're going to where you're bringing in non-alcoholic options, like tell me how those conversations have gone and was it hard to convince them to allow that, or what has that been like?
no, I mean, so at this point, I would call myself a professional networker. I think I pretty much network for a living. I've spent a lot of time becoming a big person in the wellness space here in New York City, I would say. And so I've developed a lot of really great partnerships and relationships with people. So, for instance, there's a space called Othership here in New York City. I am obsessed with them. It is a huge sauna that they have and then cold plunges and they have
Mhm.
classes and they guide you through and it's a sober space and they let me pop up there with non-alcoholic beverages once or twice a month and give them out to people. I'm doing a big event on Sunday called Coffee and Chill. It's like 400 people are coming and it's from 10 a.m. to noon and there's no alcohol and I'm just one of the vendors at the pop-up giving out beverages. You know, I'm doing a fundraiser in the Hamptons in August. There's 600 people there. There's going to be alcohol there, but I'm going to have a dedicated non-alcoholic beverage table. And these people want it. It's inclusive to the guests. And I
Mhm.
think people who get it, even if they're not sober. And they also see that it's also quote unquote trendy. It's
Yes.
trendy to have these non alcoholic beverages. And more people every day are realizing alcohol just doesn't serve their life, even if they have a problem or not. So, having these options, it's really a win win for everybody involved. And so I just like love finding those opportunities of where's the win for everybody.
I was at uh, a dental conference and we talked to the organizers. We asked them whether they'd be willing to have some non-alcoholic wines along with their alcohol wines at this wine tasting that they had. And they were like, wow, we hadn't even thought of that. That's a great idea. So there was various different tables set up and people could come by and taste. And they would come to the table that I was standing at with the wine we brought in and they would look at it and say zero alcohol and go, no, that's not for me. And they'd move on to the next table. But other people were a little curious and like, I'll try it. And then they loved it. But do you find that you get some funny reactions from people?
Yes, well, I had a similar experience to what you're describing. You'll love this. I recently did a non-alcoholic wine bar at the Irish consulate. Here in New York City, they had an Irish American Bar Association of New York event, which is Irish lawyers. If there's any two populations of people that drink more, it's the Irish and the lawyers. And
Yeah.
so here I am creating a non-alcoholic wine bar with other regular wine bars. And so people walked in and they were either really excited I was there because they were already on a sober journey, or
Hmm.
kind of, I don't know, or like, oh my God, get me away from your table. I need to go to the wine. But interestingly enough, as the night progressed, the people that were the big drinkers that honestly wanted to stay away from me like the plague came back and they were like, honestly, maybe I am ready to try this. And they tried their first ever non-alcoholic wine with me. They could not believe how good it was. And I think I planted the seed for a lot of people that night that
Yeah.
you can still have good options and it's not that scary to maybe
Yeah.
even just switch out between alcohol and non-alcohol, right?
That's
But
right.
it was a very interesting experience being with the Irish lawyers and trying to push non-alcoholic wine on them.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it was at this dental conference. I mean, every industry thinks that they're the worst, which is so fascinating to me. But dentists think that they're the worst. And so when people did try it, they were like, huh, that's interesting. This is really good.
Hmm.
You know, we're a long way from the days of the early non-alcoholic options when they quite honestly were crap. So
Yeah.
things have gotten so much better since then. So tell me about Soft Bar and that whole new venture.
Yeah, so Soft Bar is a non-alcoholic bar and cafe that is slated to open in Greenpoint, Brooklyn in August. I've been on the team now for over almost a year and a half, I want to say. And it's been a really amazing journey. Our co-founder, his name is Carl Radke. He's on a Bravo TV show called Summer House. And so we've had a lot of publicity because of the show. And, I'm running our events and non-alcoholic brand partnerships. So, opening a brick and mortar space in New York City is no joke. Like it is, it's a thing. But it's needed. We need to have dedicated spaces where people can go and have a good time and have fun and have sophisticated beverages that just don't have alcohol in them.
Hmm.
Like you shouldn't have a lesser experience just because you don't drink. So that's really
Hmm.
what we're creating over at Soft Bar.
Yeah, I remember we had Chris Marshall from Sans Bar on the podcast, and I remember him talking about that people would come in and not know quite what the experience was going to be like. And he said, so they tried to recreate it as close to what a bar feeling would be like, just with amazing non-alcoholic options. And now people come regularly and they, come play games or they play music or whatever the things are. And it's just so cool to think that it's just another example of our life doesn't end and we don't stop having fun. In fact, quite the opposite. I have more fun and I remember it and I make great friends and I dance and all the things. So kudos to you guys for creating a space like that in New York. That's going to be amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it definitely is. And, I talk about it all the time to people everywhere I go, and everyone's just so excited for something like this to come. And we have other non-alcoholic bars in the city, but they're all different and nothing is like what Soft Bar is going to be. So, yeah, more to come on that. Stay tuned for Soft Bar updates. And
Hmm.
we're crossing our fingers that we open in August. It really just all comes down to our construction, and New York City construction is very unpredictable. So
Yeah.
we are just keeping our fingers crossed that everything stays according to plan.
Well, when the time comes, let us know and we'll put it all over our social media as well.
I will. I will.
So, last question I have for you is what do you wish that more people knew about what it really takes to amplify your sober voice, not just as a coach or content creator, but as a human being living this out, living this life out daily? Like, what do you think people should know about it?
Well, what comes to mind is be proud of your sobriety. I think sometimes a lot of people are ashamed, not ashamed, but they try to hide it. Or someone asks if they don't drink and they're like, no, I don't drink right now. Or they come up with something. And I used to do that at the beginning. Like I was scared to tell people, like, are they still going to want to be my friend? And now, oh my gosh, I wear it like a badge of honor. Like if someone says, like, do you want to drink? I'm like, I'm proudly sober and I don't drink. You want to hear all about it? Like, I am that annoying sober person, quote unquote, and I don't care if it's annoying. Like I love it. And if anybody like gives you a weird response or is kind of like, oh, you don't drink, like, are you still fun? Like you must be fun at parties. It's just a reflection of their own relationship with alcohol. So just always keep that in mind that it's not about you, it's about them. And sometimes just the presence of someone that doesn't drink can make someone feel triggered, and it's triggering because they already are questioning the relationship with alcohol, and this is just holding up a mirror to them. So I think
Hmm.
be proud, be loud, don't keep it in. I don't think it should be a secret. We're not living, in shame here. We're healthy and we're proud, and we've done something really hard that a lot of people just don't understand.
For sure. For sure. Getting sober is no joke, but it is something that just is life transforming. And that's why I love talking to people on this podcast, because all of us have that spark in our eyes, that light that's lit up that wasn't there before. Do you feel comfortable if I asked you what are some of your favorite non-alc brands?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's kind of hard. I can't tell you. If you knew how many non-alcoholic beverages were just like even just surrounding me right now, it's scary. So the amount of packages that are in this apartment. Curious Elixirs, hands down, is my absolute favorite. They for so many reasons, but I tend to love the functional beverages the most. I think it's really great to be able to drink something that actually does something for your body. So
Which number
Curious
is your favorite?
well, actually, right behind me is Curious Number 9, and that's actually
Uh-huh.
what I've been drinking right now because it has Kana in it, and Kana opens the heart chakra. It makes you happy, and I just like really needed some of that. It was a gloomy gray day here in New York, and I just was like, I need a boost here. So
That's fun.
definitely Curious Elixirs. I also love Three Spirit for a similar reason. They're, another functional beverage. It's just you have to mix it yourself with something.
Mhm.
Um, I love Gießen for non-alcoholic wines.
Gießen's my favorite.
They're
Absolute
great. They just
favorite.
came out with 2 new SKUs actually, so that's exciting.
Hmm.
I also love Oddbird. Think they're very elevated and good. Um, I'm like looking, I have a little like I have bookshelves over here to my left that are just like filled with non-alcoholic beverages. I love the Pathfinder. So good. Amave, really great. Yeah. Aplos.
Apples is
And
good. Yeah.
apothecary, it's not a non-alcoholic beverage, but it's a tincture, a functional tincture, these apothecary tinctures. And I really love those because you can like put them in your bag and like bring them with you and make your own little functional beverage anywhere you go. I'm all about that, making non-alc drinks on the go. So,
Fun. Excellent. Is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you wanted to share?
um, I mean, I don't think so. I think if you're listening to this and you're struggling, go to social media and get some inspiration there. I mean, when I started my Instagram account, sober Instagram was not a thing. It did not exist. And over the
Hmm.
past 4 years, it has become this amazing space for community and connection and content creators. And if you've been wondering, should I make my own sober Instagram account or accountability page? Do it. Do it. It's the
Yeah.
best decision I made besides getting sober. And see what happens.
I love that so much. And, I feel like you just bring this joy and this energy, and it's infectious. And so, if today's conversation with Rachel lit something up in you who are listening, don't let it end here. Start living authentically in all parts of your life, whether that's on social media or just within your community and your friends, because it feels so good just to be wholly you and wholly present. And please share this episode with a friend who needs to hear it. Leave us a review so we can keep amplifying voices like Rachel's. And if you're ready to take up more space in your own alcohol-free journey, join us at Amplify Sober Voices on January 15th, 2026. It's going to be the place where sober leaders come to get filled up. You can find more at amplifysobervoices.com and grab your ticket there. Until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and remember, your sober voice matters. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Margie.